you doing today?
Good morning. How are you, Kevin?
Doing great. I always enjoy getting a chance to talk to you. I think we have a fun conversation every week, and so let's find out what is going on in your office. Any hot stuff happening there?
Well, this week I had the pleasure to continue my trips down to the border. I went to El Paso in April, and this week I went down to Laredo, Texas, which is probably the most important spot in Texas along the border because it's the largest port of entry, second only to Los Angeles in the whole country. So every day you've got 12,000 trucks, 25,000 cars, and 17,000 pedestrians going back and forth legally across that bridge every day. So it is a very important sector on the border.
What did you learn when you were down there?
Well, you know, we were with the Border Patrol and the county sheriff. I went out on the river, looked at their Border Patrol techniques in that region, and I came away thinking that they were really lacking in technology, and their border force is 200 people below its authorized level of border agents.
Congressman French Hill on this morning. The House has passed a bill to end crude oil exports, and if you would, explain what it's about and why it's important.
Well, since the oil embargo back in the 1970s, President Ford and President Carter agreed to a banning crude oil exports from the U.S. except to Canada or to Mexico. And now we are the world's largest producer of light sweet crude, and that is what refineries all over the world crave. And we have passed a bill in the House, and I believe it'll pass the Senate as well, to lift that ban and let us export that light sweet crude to global markets, which will lower prices, I believe, at the gasoline pump in the U.S.
No, we won't complain about that. What was the thinking when this ban was originally put in place? It was just to try to shore up U.S. supplies, or what was behind it?
Well, because the oil embargo was by OPEC, and we had our fuel choke point was in the Middle East, we did two things then. We banned exporting crude so that we could keep it in North American use, and we created the Strategic Petroleum Reserve. This bill will evaluate the Strategic Oil Reserve, see what kind of basis we need to keep there, and lift the ban on crude when the market demands it. This will help us provide oil to our allies in Asia, like Japan and South Korea, and in Europe, in addition to our natural gas exports that we have. It's a major national security tool for us to be able to strengthen our allies and make them less dependent on Middle Eastern oil sources.
Congressman French Hill, the president has said he's going to keep more than 5,000 troops in Afghanistan beyond next year. Do you think that's a good move, or your thoughts behind that?
Well, I'm supportive of the president listening to our commanders on the ground. I think that's something that he has not always done, and so I'm supportive of that decision and recommendation. I think we need to be very cautious with our moves in the Mideast right now, given Russia's significant incursions into Syria. And therefore, if our commanders are suggesting that to maintain stability in Afghanistan, that's the right troop strength, then I'd be willing to listen to that support and study it. And I look forward to doing that when I'm back in Washington next week.
Just looking at it, it doesn't seem like the president really has a game plan there in Syria, from what I can tell. I mean, and maybe he does, but what should we be doing as a country in that situation?
Well, for 3 years, the president has had no strategy in Syria, and that's what allowed ISIS to build its strength and invade Iraq and take over northern Iraq, and which has created a war on Christians and religious minorities with all the murderous, treacherous activity they've taken. And it's created a power vacuum in Syria, which now Russia has taken advantage of with their ally, Mr. Assad. And not only have they begun this air campaign, but they now have 1,500 Russian ground troops in Syria. It's a very tenuous, dangerous situation, and it's all, in my view, because of the president's vacuum that he created by taking no action and no plan for Syria some 3 years ago.
Congressman French Hill, always a pleasure to talk to you, sir, and I hope you have a great day today.
Kevin, have a great week, my friend. Talk to you soon.